Welcome to the original Gangsters Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Burnstein. Got to go back up to the Great White North. We're going to probably be checking in there at least once a week between now and the new year. And I'm going to hit on three kind of bullet points for this episode, pun intended. We're going to talk about the shooting at the jailyard where Leo Rizzuto and a number of his lieutenants were last weekend. That had got a lot of headlines. We're going to discuss the very, very possible intentional overdose of a blood family mafia lieutenant they call Latu, who was found dead in his prison cell this week. And then we're going to discuss Marty Robert, the Hells Angels Montreal boss, international superpower, one percenter extraordinaire, the visionary, the James Bond of biker bosses, the new age, the new millennium prototypical biker boss, Marty Robert. And we're going to talk about his brief return to Montreal. Came back in early November, mid-November for a family funeral and dipped in and then dipped back out. And we're going to get into that later. But let's start with all of the commotion that erupted last weekend when Leonardo Rizzuto, the Montreal Mafia Don, looked to be the target of another assassination attempt. I'm here to pour some cold water on those hot topic conversations, some of which I started myself, because there was certain things you couldn't deny at first glance last weekend when you hear that Leo Rizzuto and Baldy Barbario and Vito Salvaggio are on, in the rec yard doing their time, quietly, getting some sunlight, and somebody drives by and rips automatic gunfire into the compound. It looked a certain way because that's how the Rizzutos wanted it to look. And I'm here to report that I don't think this was anything that we thought it was right off the, off the jump. There were a lot of people, again, including myself, that were speculating that this might be some type of message or statement from Rizzuto enemies, people like Montreal crime lord Tupac Anna, who's got locked up just a couple days before that shooting. But this was, based on my reporting and my sourcing, this was a false flag operation put into motion to facilitate a transfer to a more preferable incarceration location, and it was successful. Within hours of the shooting last Saturday, the entire Rizzuto mob contingent in that prison were transferred out and put into the detention facility in Bordeaux. So you went from, I think, northeast Montreal, where this other prison was, to Bordeaux, which is the bigger facility. I believe it's closer to a lot of these mafia figures' families and homes and their attorneys, and they had put in for a transfer, I guess, in the weeks leading up to this shooting, and they were looking for something, I think, to to push that transfer through. And this very elaborate, well-orchestrated charade, again, based on my reporting, my sourcing, was a means to that end. Now, when I talk about how elaborate it was, and we talked, and I reported this in my last pod talking about what was going on in Canada, was that this the hitman or guy that was tasked with pretending to be a hitman left a weapon and shell casings and what looked to be a dossier of photos of Leonardo Rizzuto and his lieutenants, all to keep up this narrative that this came from the Rizzuto's enemies. And they there's not a shortage right now. So they were trying to play, three-dimensional chess here. And it worked. So I want to be clear, though, that my initial gut instinct was wrong. This wasn't a statement from Tupac. He has his own shit show to deal with, for lack of a better term. If you're him and his people, right now he's facing extradition from the United States and is under indictment on murder and drug trafficking charges tied to the Sinaloa cartel and Ryan Wedding, the snowboarder, and according to the DEA and RCMP, the 2020s version of El Chapo or Pablo Escobar is a Canadian from Vancouver who used to be an Olympic snowboarder. And Tupac Ana was arrested as part of Operation Giant Slalom, which is a huge multi-layered assault on the Wedding organization. Wedding is a fugitive right now, but Ana is in custody. We know that Ana and the Rizzutos have been trading murder contracts on each other's heads. So it led me to believe that what happened last weekend was Tupac Ana, through people on the outside, sending a message to the Rizzutos, you can touch people in here, well, so can I. That's not what this was, though. Even though the Rizzutos, I think, do want to be as clear as you can be without outwardly saying it, that we can do whatever we want to from behind bars. And this scenario, by putting this dog and pony show out in order to prompt a transfer, I guess further proves the point. Whether it's touching someone behind bars, putting out a hit from behind bars, running the crime family from behind bars, holding iPhone making ceremonies from behind bars, or moving around the prison system in Canada any way we want to. We're actually the ultimate power behind the prison walls, not the Crown, not the people that run the detention facilities. So we're a week removed, and a transfer has been made. They are all now, all of Leo Rizzuto and his lieutenants are now at Bordeaux. And we will continue monitoring the situation. Now let's move on to what looks like a murder that took place behind bars in prison. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but this is the Blood Family Mafia, the upstart street gang organized crime group out of Quebec City that popped up, let's say, in the last 5 to 10 years, led by the enigmatic Canadian crime lord David Icepick Trammell, has been in a almost 3-year war now with the Hells Angels. At one point, Blood Family Mafia was aligned with the Rizzutos, and that has not been the case for the last year plus, but initially they were aligned with the Rizzutos. Trammell is in custody in Italy, and at some point will make it back to Canada to face gangsterism charges. But a number of his top lieutenants were locked up in 23 and in 24. One of them, David Gallienne Picard, who goes by the nickname L2. And it translates to the cough or cough syrup. And I guess this guy was known for moving cough syrup on the streets, the black market, the scissor, the purple drink. And that's how he got his nickname. He was allegedly a part of the very, very bold, audacious, frankly reckless kidnapping and torture plot back in the winter of 24, and the weeks before he got arrested and taken off the streets. He took an order, him and a number of other Blood Family Mafia members took an order from Pic Trammell, who was communicating with his guys via encrypted text application in Europe when he was on the run. At that point, he was still under the protection of the Rizzutos. And Trammell it was a hit that was kind of a kidnapping ransom plot. And it all blew up in everybody's faces. And the initial target was Mario Ager, Mario Bananas, one of the more prominent Hells Angel OGs in Quebec, comes from the Quebec City chapter, Sergeant at Arms. So Ager had been tapped by Marty Robert and Nurgut Stadnik to be, the diplomat to go negotiate with Ice Pick Trammell in Europe. Ager, at the end of 2023, leads a delegation of Hells Angels to go meet with Trammell in Portugal. Trammell sends them away, won't meet with Ager. Ager comes back to Canada, and within a couple weeks, Trammell takes his organization and sicks it at Ager. Again, this guy's an OG. Scott fought in the war, in the Great Quebec Biker War. One of the, early Hells Angels powerhouses in Quebec. And it's just one of those guys whose reputation precedes him. So initially they tried to kidnap Ager. They couldn't kidnap him. Then they kidnapped some of his nephews, hold them hostage, start cutting off fingers and toes, ears. One of the nephews, during this multi-day conspiracy, breaks free, gets either his cousin or his brother, breaks him free, and as they're escaping, they kill one of the Blood Family Mafia assailants, Patrick Riv Martin, and they escape. But this is just this just took everything into overdrive in terms of where the Hells Angels were regarding the Blood Family Mafia. Trammell has a $500,000 contract on his head as of when that happened in February of 24. So one of the assailants allegedly was Gallienne Picard, L2. And he popped up dead last week in his jail cell of an overdose. The belief now from investigators is this was an intentional overdose, and either his own people killed him or the Hells Angels killed him. I guess possibly you could say the Rizzutos maybe played a role in it. But this is another casualty, most likely, in the war between the Blood Family Mafia and the Hells Angels. And we know, there's been all these iterations and breakaway wars and iterations of the initial war that happened that started back in 2009 that hasn't even come close to finding its conclusion. And within the greater Rizzuto mob empire implosion, resurrection, this Blood Family Mafia Hells Angels dispute was created. It was kind of around the same time that there were issues between Hells Angels and the Rizzutos. So the Rizzutos came in and were supporting Ice Pick Trammell. That lasted until over a year ago, where they broke off any support and told Trammell to make peace. But this is still a very well-worn battleground. And even if you're behind bars, you have the potential to be a victim of violence. And that's what happened. It looks like that's what happened with David Gallienne Picard. And he was 32 years old. And we'll be monitoring that situation as well. So this is going to be a shorter podcast episode, but we're going to finish off with, one of the most influential, historically significant, powerful crime lords of our time, Marty Robert, the face of Hells Angels Nation globally right now, one of the most wanted men in the world when it comes to people looking to keep tabs on his day-to-day operations. He is a subject of multiple criminal investigations by law enforcement, federal and local, both in Canada and the United States, Mexico, Europe, et cetera, et cetera. He's also at war right now with Tupac Anna and his guys, just like the Rizzutos are. And amidst all of that, he's got to basically be the wheel that the whole Hells Angels empire spins upon. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the, he represents Nurgut Stadnik on a day-to-day. Nurgut's the Wizard of Oz. He stays behind the scenes pulling strings, but Marty is the one who's out there winning hearts and minds and going out. And I've mentioned it before, and this is why I'm reporting this now. This is a juggling act for Marty. So not only are you having to deal with almost 7,000 full patches, 70 countries, 600 to 700 chapters, and this is all under your purview. So you're going he's the man that doesn't sleep. Doesn't sleep in the same house for 2 nights in a row. He's in Dubai one night and Australia the next, and London and Dublin and Moscow, and then Miami Beach, down to Mexico and South America. He is, they should do a comic book, or a superhero movie based on him. I mean, that's the kind of level that we're talking about, and that we've never really seen ever a biker boss that has this type of power and juice and the intelligence factor and the how he has, and I know belaboring the point here, but just to further emphasize it, he's changed the whole paradigm, the Hells Angels. He's taken them, not to say they're off the streets, but expanded the street operations into fully vertically integrated, fully vested, white-collar, boardroom, corporate wealth type shit. So he is not easy to track. And that's why I try my best to keep everybody that are interested in kind of letting the people that follow this stuff know kind of what he's doing and how he's doing it, where he's doing it. So he hasn't been spending a lot of time on the home front in Canada with what's been going on the last couple of years. It's just for his safety, for the functionality of the Hells Angels, having the top guy can't be in charge of 6,000 to 7,000 people in the middle of being a war general, fighting battles on multiple fronts. So he leaves a lot of that to his guys in Canada, Fess and Teflon Rob Barletta, those types. And he's out gallivanting the globe on Hells Angels business. So I would say he's, in terms of North America, he has spent more time in the U.S. and in Mexico than he has in Canada. So when he comes back to Canada, it's kind of a big deal, especially on the heels of what we reported last month about a shooting that took place at one of his casinos. So Marty was back in town. I heard it was about a 3-day romp. Somebody on his wife's side of the family passed away, and he was an important person, and there was a big funeral, and Marty came back and handled his business with his family and his in-laws, and did the job of what a good husband and a good son-in-law does. And then he also met with his lieutenants, and this whole time, and this is why I'm comfortable reporting this, because I'm not really blowing the lid off anything law enforcement wise, because the whole time that Marty was back in town, he was being followed around by the Crown, local cops. He had literally, I heard there were helicopters and airplanes following him wherever he went. And during the funeral, there were people taking pictures everywhere, and it wasn't a secret that he was back. And whatever that says, it tells me that. And again, I know this is something that I've said before and I've reported before, that he might not be seen a lot in Canada lately, but believe me, the people that are paid to keep tabs on him in Canada know what's going on. And this is a team effort keeping tabs on Marty Robert, because I believe you have the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, and the United States keeping tabs on him. You got the federales in Mexico, and then you got Interpol. So it's everybody is working in conjunction with each other. So I was told that the second he came back in to Canada, the prying eyes of the Crown were right on him, and wanted him to know that they were paying attention. So it's cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, just at the highest level right now, because Marty Robert is, again, arguably him and Nurgit are the most powerful crime lords on the planet right now. That's just outside of some of I would say outside of maybe the cartel bosses, it's just different. But they're moving at levels that biker bosses have never moved at before. So that's why he gets so much attention from me and from law enforcement. And frankly, that's why there are a lot of people that are afraid to report about it. And that's why I'm kind of if you want to know about Marty Robert, you want to know about Nerga Stadnik, then you tune into Original Gangsters Podcast, and we're gonna give it to you raw, unadulterated. We don't mince words, and as long as we're trying to be respectful and try to be as reverential as possible, but at the same time report what's newsworthy. We report the truth. And when you're somebody that is as newsworthy and noteworthy as Marty Robert or Nerga Stadnik, maybe the people in your hometown are afraid to write about you, but I'm not. So I have such utmost respect for Marty, but I also think historically this is something that needs to be on record. In the way that John Dillinger was covered, or Al Capone was covered, or John Gotti, or these are, and he's at a whole other level. So he was back in Canada. He's now gone again and not sure where he is, but was back in Canada. The government knew, was keeping record of it. He did the meetings he had to do with the people he had to meet with, and now he's back outside of Canada, running around on Hell's Angels business and trying to tiptoe through the landmines, which are guys that are trying to kill him, and the government that's trying to bring a case. So that's where we are right now. That's our report from the Great White North. Hope everybody had a great holiday, and that we're getting into the Christmas holiday season. People are enjoying. Please keep checking back in the Original Gangsters Podcast. We are going into overdrive content-wise to end the season. We're sprinting towards New Year's. It's going to be a great 26, but we're going to end 25 with a bang. Lots of content, and I'm excited about it. Hitting you from all the different angles that you look for. Please like, share, and subscribe. Original Gangsters Podcast, Gangster Report, our companion web magazine, Original Gangsters, and members-only Patreon. We're here uncovering the underworld, one city, one region, one country, one continent at a time. I'm out.